Hey everyone, today we're here coming to check out the abandoned Eagle Lake locomotives. It's 2 a.m. in the morning, and by my voice you can probably tell it's pretty cold out here. You can easily see your breath. It's currently 19 degrees Fahrenheit. And here we go down the trail. I've never seen anybody else make a video of this place at night. The road out here, all the way from Greenville, Maine, I did not pass one car driving out here, and that's about 115 miles. Not a single person. And surprisingly, didn't see any moose, nothing like that. The only thing I saw was, well, I did see a squished moose in the road. It was completely mangled. It must have got run over by a tractor trailer on the dirt road. Saw a couple rabbits out here. I don't know if you can hear that on the camera, but we're pretty close to Eagle Lake, and I can hear loons in the distance making their calls. And occasionally I hear a coyote howl. There's coyotes out here. Every time we hear one of them howl, my dog here starts barking and growling, but I can tell they're pretty far away. Most animals wouldn't mess with you out here. And because it's so cold, there's leaves all over the ground. This is probably going to kill all the nice fall colors. The first time it's gone down in the teens this year in this area. After slowly walking through the woods, finally met up with the train tracks. That's what's down there. So that means we'll be at the trains within 10 minutes. Here we are at the big dirt donut. Coming down. Here we are at the train tracks. Over there is the main line. This is simply just a branch line with a ton of abandoned freight cars. Maybe we'll look for them as soon as the sun comes up. We're gonna wait out here for a while. I just had to shut my light off for a minute. I was like, somebody up there having a campfire? It's a reflective sign. We have a full moon tonight, so even without the flashlights, you can kind of navigate out here. All right, this right here is a small boiler right here. Trains are further up. All right, here we have a little log bridge where the water drains. There's part of the tram system. And here we are, the trains. I can see them clear as day. I guess that's not showing up on camera, is it? Here, you can walk free. Right there. There's the bumper on it. The wood completely burned away in the fire. These trains, this railroad first opened in 1927 and shut down only 6 years later in 1933 because of the Great Depression. By the time the Great Depression was over, they were obsolete and they started using tractor trailers. Well, not back in the 30s, but trucks, because these were no longer efficient enough. Yeah, so just about we're 100 miles deep in the woods before the nearest. Look at all that rust. It's a lot creepier out here at night. You can hear a ton of loons out on the lake. Grease is still dripping out of the bearings. After all these years, there's still some in there. So these trains, back in the 1960s, a park ranger burned them. They were inside a giant train garage, and they burned down the building for safety reasons so people wouldn't get hurt on it. So that's why the rust really accelerated. I'm glad we didn't run into something like a moose on the trail. 95% chance it would have just ran away. But when they see bright lights at night, they usually freeze. And sometimes when they feel threatened, they've been known to stomp and trample people. Look at this. That's wood. You can see that all charred and burnt on the smaller locomotive here. The entire cabin is gone because it was made out of wood. It just burned away. Gigantic chains. Let's look underneath. Right there's where they emptied out all the soot, that hatch. Oh, it's not as cold as now that we're moving, except my fingertips. So I guess until the sun rises in a few hours, we're gonna get up into the cab of the big one. Just hang out. This thing here, I'm guessing, is the air tank for the brakes. That on the side there. Makes sense. Look at that. The sign over there that I read earlier, they reused the back of a toilet sign. Got a spider nest right there. Let's look underneath this big one. There's the hatch on this one, where they would have dumped out all the soot, even though these were converted to burn oil. Up top here we got a big oil tank and a water tank. The big one, the air tank, is on the back. See how the tracks lifted up? They put new ties in because the big one here, there's old pictures of it just about ready to fall over. April, don't go in the woods. No. Hey. Stay. Come here. It's like maybe there was lights a long time ago. April, come here. You see all the pieces of scrap here? Like the last time I was here, they were digging these pieces out of the ground. These were probably buried. They were excavating a whole bunch of stuff. There's a whole bunch of these springs. Maybe this was like a scrap pile. But anyways, they excavated it for people coming to look at the trains, could see everything. Ton of people's names on here. So, how bad is it in here? Right here's pretty good. Not in there, but I want to be able to put her up inside here, because we're just going to hang out in there for a little while until the sun comes up. It's too dark to look at anything else. I think I'm gonna go ahead and set a time lapse up. It's a good idea. Make a time lapse video until the sun comes up. The night sky never got really dark last night. Got a full moon, but the moon, as you can see, it's setting behind the trees, making way for the sun. Heard that? Those are loons. All right. Stay. Stay. All right, it's been a few hours. I gave her one of my shirts so she doesn't have to lay on the cold metal. We've been waiting out here for 3 or 4 hours. Forget when we got here. We got to the train maybe about 3. Looks like we're gonna have a nice sunrise over there. It's probably around 20 degrees, lower 20s for temperature Fahrenheit. Looks like we're gonna have a nice sunset over there. We've been just hanging out in here at night. It makes you feel really secure and safe inside of this thing, surrounded by all this metal, because you're pretty high up here. That's like a 5-6 foot drop. Things like hungry coyotes can't get up here, and I doubt a bear would mess with you. And also up here, a moose can't get you, an angry moose. Although that's extremely rare, they can charge people sometimes. But we've been just hanging out up here. Got some good spots to put lights up. Because I gave her one of my shirts over there so she didn't have to sit on the cold metal. But I'm wearing like 4 shirts because I didn't have a winter jacket with me. And I didn't even need these shirts. As long as you keep moving around, it doesn't get cold out here, just my fingertips. That's the only issue I really had. The floor is all rotted out here and over here, but there's like this little cubby hole where I left the dog. There's no sharp metal over there. Pretty nice here. We're listening to those beautiful loon noises. Too bad we couldn't start up a fire in here. I'm sure the park rangers would be pretty angry if we started a fire up in here. You're not supposed to burn in this area. There's no camping right in this area around the trains. I guess if you were actually out here in a survival purpose, like an emergency, you could start a fire in there. This isn't an emergency. We came out to see the trains intentionally. But I don't even need my lights. I need them for the camera, but I can see pretty good myself. Oh, getting up on top. Big tank. Just a gigantic tank. The one on the smaller train actually has some water in it because it's sealed. This one has holes all through it. Here's up top. Before the sun comes up, get a few more night shots. This is a big hatch that just doesn't close. Up on top. Such nice rivet work. Raspberries on the roof. See, they're all turning yellow. Standing on top of the big air tank. Got a date right here. 5/7/1927. Big hatch right here going down inside. Got the two little roof drains. Ladder on the back down to the tracks. Got a bunch of dirt accumulating here. You know, the whole roof would be covered in dirt if it wasn't for so many people coming out here. April, I'll be back. Shh. All right, let's take a look inside of this big hatch. Check it out. Pretty awesome, right? Might want to turn down headphones. It's going to be loud. Someone could get stuck in that hole if they fell in. I want to come check this place out. When we got snow on the ground in the winter, that would be cool. I don't know if they plow the hiking trail road, but if they don't, it's not too big of a deal as long as the snow, because up here you can get like 6 feet on the ground at once. You can't go through that without a snowmobile. But just for the scenery, come up when we have like a foot of snow. You could always park at the end of the road. If they don't plow it. They plow all the main arteries of the logging roads, so no problem there. Probably have to use tired chains most likely. Not a problem. That would be fun. I would not be bringing the dog in the winter. Too cold. This is like the limit. Yep, we got a lot of frost on the roof. About what I said earlier, yeah, you could not start a fire in either of these. Because the smokestack, they plugged both of them. I'm assuming so someone doesn't get themselves stuck in it. Because that's big enough. You get both of your legs inside of that. So the smoke would back up into the cabin. It's now 6:20 in the morning. This one really cold night, you see, all the leaves are gonna fall now. The first major freeze of the year. We've had a few frosts in the 20s. This is the first night getting into the teens. All the birds are waking up. No more noises of the loons. They just do that before the sun comes up. Just about over now. Brand new spikes. They did not even use tie plates. I wonder if this railway, if the original track used tie plates. There's really no way of knowing, because all the original ties just about rotted away, and as they rotted, people pulled the spikes out, pulled the plates off if there were any, and they're just about all stolen, the originals. I was here about a week ago making that other video of the place where we explored all these abandoned cars that were just left here to rot. The cars were made of wood. They just completely fell apart. Some of them, you can see some charred remains. Some of them burned, but other ones didn't. Looks like we're gonna have a nice sunset today, or sunrise. Something's walking around in here. Probably a bird. You see all the mist, fog rising up, because the water is still fairly warm. Cannot even see across the lake. Usually you can. You can see the island over there. All the frost all over the grass. Sun is going to be coming up pretty soon. Beaver Lodge is completely out of the water. Water's pretty low. Here we are at the tram station. That's the locomotive house that burned down. The cabins, I'm not sure what happened to them. They were maybe taken down, or maybe they were set on fire also. So this here is 22 gauge track, 22 inches. Right here we got two big boilers. 1901 Boston, Massachusetts. Those doors make one eerie noise. And you see the steam went up through that pipe. There's two valves to control how much. It comes over here and it makes this entire thing move. There's big pistons in there driven by the steam. Big belt here. Comes over here. This big open gearbox, and right here to the pulley that would pull this whole system. Usually there would be water sitting in here. The lake is just about dried up, but we're going for quite a hike here. If I do find anything that I'm hoping to see, I will make a separate video of that. We're hoping to find a train trestle. It says on the sign that there's remnants of it, probably meaning foundation or pillars going across a 1,500-foot section. Usually the water would be up to here. I have an old video myself walking on this, afraid to fall in the water. But look, you can't see water anywhere. It's like way down there in the fog. Probably a mile walk until you hit water. See, there's all kinds of trails here from moose. The moose hate it because usually they have nice water here that's like knee deep to them. They can eat the plants all summer long. That's their main food source, the water plants. Also buds on the trees. But I'm sure the deer like it. Big grazing land that they didn't have before. Here, I know they recently did some excavating here. They threw all these parts here all over the lawn. Like if you lift them up, the grass isn't even completely dead under them. It's so recent. They did some digging, found all these parts that sunk in the ground, hidden over the years. Like over here. Looks like where they did all their digging, all the parts were in the ground here that they pulled out. Check this thing out here. That's long seized up, or maybe it has to be moving. Looks like it's to disengage it, doesn't it? Big handle. Big belt. Held on there by being slightly bowed in the middle. This here is new. You can tell that's a nice piece of pressure treated wood. They put that in a little while back. And I noticed almost every part is numbered. Like, see, there's numbers there. There's one up there. Maybe they were taking it apart and wanted to know how to put it back together. Right here, got the weights when they were doing balancing, making sure it ran evenly. And right here, these nuts might be new. I don't think those are original. See, they put a little bit of weld on them. I wonder if that was original, or I think they welded it so somebody couldn't take it apart. Same with right there. Those look pretty new, don't they? Those bolts. You see the grate down there? So all the ashes can fall out through the bottom. I don't know how these parts get moved around, but you see the missing piece right there? That's a half a mile down there on the edge of the lake. How'd this get all the way out here? Ton of pitting. It's been underwater for a while. I didn't even realize that on the others. It's hollow inside. Trains are in there. The track is probably maybe 200 feet in the woods there. Got this nice pool here, separate from the lake. I'm pretty sure these rocks here are natural, because I see them going like all the way. I suppose they might have been put here by the train company to stop the tracks from washing out during storms. But it looks natural to me. Ton of tiny fish here in the water. Some big animal was laying down here. That's why all the grass is smushed, pushed over. Probably a moose. Looks like until the water comes back up, the beavers have abandoned this house. There's a doorway. Water has to go up another 3 feet before that's usable again. Probably not going to happen before winter. Most of these flatbed cars, open top cars, were burned. You can see here all the ashes years later are still remaining. Other ones simply just rotted. Like down there, you can still see walls of a few of them. Those weren't burned down there. Take a look at this. There's still grease in all the bearings, but all the hatches that you would lift up, most of them have been stolen. Like 90% of them are gone. Because you see, it's just this one bolt. They're pretty easy to take off. See this one, still greasy in there. Like this car here, this one wasn't burned. It's just rotting apart. Still got a lot of stabilizing rods, brake line, still intact. All the smaller boards going across are long rotted away. But these, you don't see any fire damage on these ones. Just rotten. It looks like here, years ago, this birch tree started growing on top of that rotted beam. And eventually, the beam rotted away, but the tree is still there. That's why all the roots are exposed. It found a way down to the ground. Check it out. The tree grew right through that. This one's different than what I showed before. You see, it simply has this old-fashioned cotter pin. Bump, up, slide out, and this is off. That's why they're all missing. Check it out. This one is probably the best preserved as far as being able to see the frame and everything. You see, it has the front, a couple side walls. See all the brackets holding it together. Right here, it still has the bumper attached. Yeah, all made of wood. And if you come over here, you can see how it's being held on. See those nice fancy brackets holding the wood on? And this wall here just fell in. These cars didn't have ceilings. I bet if they had a wood top, like a box car, it would have lasted longer.